Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar, that is International Seminar on Recent Trends in Educational and Corporate Scenario. My name is Deepti Jain, Head of the Department Applied Science and Humanities at School of Research and Technology, and I am pleased to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Anil Batra, Managing Director of Optigent, Seattle, USA. Anil sir, please continue.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on this webinar, and welcome everybody. I'm very excited to talk about today career in digital and web analytics. And when Mr. Akhilesh Mittal approached me, I thought this will be the best topic for you guys given the audience. So I'm going to introduce you to this new field, which is not new, but it's something that people generally miss, but it's growing significantly. So before I dive in, let me talk to you about who I am and why should you be actually listening to me. So I have 20 plus years of experience in digital marketing and analytics. I started in this field when it was very new. It wasn't even called digital marketing or digital analytics. That's when I stumbled upon this career. And since then, I loved it so much that I have been doing this for 20 plus years now. I have BTech from Panagar, India, and then I moved to US where I did my master's in engineering from University of Tennessee, and then MBA from University of Washington Foster School of Business. So can you guys hear me okay, right? I'm also a frequent speaker at various conferences, have been speaking at various digital marketing and digital analytics conferences for past 15 plus years. And also used to write extensively on my blog as well as from industry publications, which I don't do much these days because I'm too focused on building my business. And I'm also on the board. I was also on the board of Digital Analytics Association, which is the largest body of digital marketing and analytics. So, and then I have led digital marketing and analytics for various agencies, WPP agencies, Wonderman, for example, and Possible, which are the largest agencies in North America, as well as I think India also WPP has several agencies. I started a web analytics consulting company in 2007 and sold it in 2008. That was my first foray into entrepreneurship. And since then, I worked for these agencies as well as startups. And finally, I've started a new one these days, which actually it's not a new anymore because it's been 4 years now. And here's also, I've taught marketing and analytics over at University of Washington, University of British Columbia in Canada. I also ran several programs over at Microsoft for years, teaching them how to become more data-driven, as well as from Bellevue College, which is a local college in Seattle area. This is my company that I started, which is Optigent, which provides digital analytics, consulting, and training. So we do corporate workshops and online training as well for individuals, but that's also an offshoot of this. But we provide services around digital analytics, data visualization, data management. So with that, here are some of the clients that I've worked with for over these years. Microsoft has been my largest client. They are in Seattle area, so it's easy to work with them. Plus I have lots of connections there, so it makes it easy. That's how I started my second company, working with them. Actually, first also started working with them. So let's get into today's agenda. What are we talking about? A career in digital and web analytics. So before I dive into what's this career, I'm going to talk about what is web analytics. So we all know, websites, you guys have all been to websites. Every day you spend time there. Users come to your website or any business's website. They take different paths. So businesses collect every single click, every single data that you leave. When you click on a button, when you click on a link, everything is collected. And that provides a lot of information to businesses to make an informed decision on how their website should be structured, what should be surfaced on the homepage, etc., or any page. So data gets collected, it goes in the log files, every single click is collected, and then those are presented in numbers. I'm sure a lot of you have looked at tools like Google Analytics, which provides you information such as how many visitors you have, how many page views per visitor, what's the bounce rate, which is people coming and leaving your site, video views, etc. So you can imagine every single click is collected and then mined to understand who this user is, what they are trying to do, and how can we make them click that button that'll make them take out their wallet and pay for something. So that is where the web analytics started. When I started, we were basically, the tools like Google Analytics did not exist. And over a period of time, now we have several digital marketing channels. Back then, we didn't have any channels. It was website. You just went to the homepage and then you went inside the site. Now, with all these channels, separate channels, every day new channels are coming. Even like offline is coming into the play. You know, you see an ad on TV, then you go to the website, or you open your mobile phone, pull the website, and then you go to the site. All this data, again, is collected to see when you clicked on a site, which channel you came from, and this is where it started to become digital analytics. So web analytics was all about just the web, and digital analytics includes analysis of data from all digital channels. Previous one was the website analysis, where we only did website tracking. And now we're looking at all the different channels. So digital analytics include analysis from all the data. Using all this data, you provide a complete view of digital marketing and customer behavior on these sites. So that's where the field lies. And we all know how fast digital marketing is growing. Even everybody in the whole world is locked in their homes, and the companies that are still trying to sell are doing digital advertising. You're not looking at the billboards out there. So everything is digital. People are spending more and more time there. And part of that whole thing, bucket is, digital marketing is growing, but along with that is the web analytics. And there is no separate, I was trying to find some studies that can show me separate web or digital analytics, but they combine it all into web analytics market. So the term is interchangeably used, whether it's web analytics or digital analytics. Even if you look at the jobs out there, hiring managers are sometimes using web analytics, sometimes they're using digital analytics. Though web only refers to website, digital refers to the whole ecosystem. So web analytics market to reach 10.73 billion. If you think about, that's not a big bucket, but the percentage that it's growing is huge. It's 19.3%. It's growing at that rate, which basically means that you will be doubling this in like 5 years, I assume 4 or 5 years at that rate. So this market is a huge pie. And if you look at the other stats that I'm going to show you, that'll tell you why this market is so lucrative in terms of the career. I started a company back in 2007. It was just starting at that point. And we already had buyers who were ready to buy the company because, one, it was so new, people had no idea, even though it was a very small market. Now the market is way bigger, but also it's getting crowded. Because whenever there is an opportunity, many folks come in to start those companies or come up with their own angle to these tools. And this is where I thought, when I'll be talking to you guys, many of you want to start a career as a digital analyst. Maybe that's something that you can be inspired by looking at this, or maybe start your own company because there is a huge market there that's growing. So here's another screenshot that tells you like how this market is growing. Where it was in 2019, it's almost going to be 2024, and next 5 years it's going to be. And why this makes sense? Here is where a survey that was conducted asking CMOs where their focus is. How will your marketing team focus on data and analytics change in 2020? As you can see, most of them are saying more focus on data and analytics, and significantly more focus, 27. So if you add those, that's like an 83% right there are saying more focus. And nobody's reducing. About the same is rest 16%. Very few people are saying less focus on data and analytics. I'm not sure why even that much percentage is there. And where they are focusing is measurement and analytics. You can look at 69%. So that tells you where everything is focusing. More and more focus on data and analytics, and for marketing departments, and measurement and analytics. This is where digital analytics come into play. All these are digital customer data platform you're looking at from digital angle, bringing everything together, data management, marketing, automation, because you're trying to automate all this marketing. Here is what it takes to be a CMO. So when CEO is hiring a CMO, where are they focusing? What skill set they are looking for? They're looking for somebody who has CMO needs to be part reality checker. They have to understand customer experience, which you can get from the data that you collect about customers online, offline, and also customers know businesses are tracking every move and most are willing to accept it. So CMOs have to be comfortable, or customers have to be comfortable that their data is secure. So this is where data focus comes into play. Wealth of insights to be gained from all the data. So CMO needs to know all this stuff. If CMOs are not data driven, are not using data to make their craft better, then they don't have a place in an organization. And this is why everything is moving digital, this career becomes even more critical, or this skill set becomes more critical. Here is another one where when it was asked for CMOs, like pick the most critical skill gaps, data science and analytics. And user experience is also where analytics plays a huge role, customer experience in the UX. But that's what they want to focus on. 68%, 78% right there is where they're saying we need to focus. That's the most critical skill gap. So there's one CEO saying CMOs need to have this, and CMOs are saying we have a gap. Again, another way where they are focusing, data analysis is a big one, the most desired skill. CMOs investment priorities, 16%. So you can keep seeing there are studies after studies that show you how critical data analysis skills are. And that's why this field that's kind of buried between digital marketing field requires more attention, and there is a huge opportunity. So that's what I'm bringing to you today. Can you guys, I accidentally pressed my table here. Show me the money. So those who are interested might be wondering, okay, that's great. This field is growing, but what about how much can I make, or what the market is paying? So a lot of you who are considering this, and this is a US centric numbers. I couldn't find India centric numbers, but I'm sure that's very high as well here. You can see how much a web analyst consultant makes. So this is when you're starting, you're kind of in web analyst consultant is somebody who has maybe 4 or 5 years of experience, 7 years, less than 7 years of experience. But as you go up in the chain, it gets higher and higher. And when you compare that with software engineer consulting salaries, because many of you are engineering graduates and trying to figure out what path to take, yes, it's at par or even sometimes higher than a software engineer. But this is all in the consulting role. So there are different roles that you will encounter in digital analytics. I'll cover those in a few minutes. So that should give you a good idea of how this field is, and where, because of the shortage and the focus, this is actually gaining more, people are putting more money, companies are putting more money into this field. So here are the roles. So those are wondering, like, what kind of roles do you have in this field? There are technical roles for those who are technically savvy. There are reporting roles, people who are good at creating good visualization, good reporting. And then there is analysis and insights. The most value is going to be in analysis and insights. Most of the folks who are in the reporting will actually end up in analysis and insights. Then there is optimization and experimentation. So I'm going to cover these one by one. Technical role is also called implementation or solution architect or a manager. This role requires knowledge of databases and SQL scripts. So you can write SQL scripts, you know how the databases are architected and how they connect the data, bring the data together, because that's what they're doing day in, day out. They're trying to figure out what data do we need to get the customer insights. You also need to know a little bit of JavaScript and HTML. The more JavaScript you know, the better it is, but it's a little bit is required. They architect the solution to support business needs. Business requires to collect X type of data. Whatever that data is, They need to architect that solution, bring everything together, whether it's creating data pipelines, whether it's instrumenting the web page or the beacons in stores, whatever that is, they are basically helping architect the solution to bring all this data where the analysis can be conducted. They are generally certified in implementing one or more tools, such as Adobe Analytics, Google Analytics, and that market is growing. And I'll show you how vast the technology landscape is growing. Here is the technology landscape. And this is where it's very hard to see, and it's on purpose because it's so huge. There are so many tools. Total solutions are 8,000 in the market. And they're doing bits and pieces of things, collecting data, processing data, or providing different kinds of insights. So this is an opportunity for those who are entrepreneurial, those who have mindset to start their companies. They could be, your company could be one day listed in this field right here. So think about if there are gaps in the market. So more and more tools are coming and filling those gaps. And then the consolidation happens. Companies like Adobe, Microsoft, Oracle, they keep buying these companies and the new keep springing up to compete and fill the gap that's still there. With new technologies, new marketing things coming up, there is always going to be a gap that needs to be filled. There is always going to be a channel that nobody is tapping into. So that's where it comes in. And this kind of shows you, if you go to this URL, martech5000.com, it will show you the journey, how it started with only 950 solutions. And today there are 8,000 solutions. But all this technical role is doing is figuring out what tool is right for the stuff, for the data that we need, for the measurement that we need to find out what customer is doing, and then architect a solution to bring it together. Then there is a reporting role. Reporting role collects data from various tools. So you have these tool implementation guys who are building all these tools and architecting them, and reporting is just pulling everything in an interface, creating nice looking dashboards and reports. So you might have heard of tools like Power BI, Tableau, Google Data Studio, etc. That's what they use. They create custom segments to identify customer segments within them. And then they work in Excel and PowerPoint most of the time, work with data visualization too. So you need to have good Excel skills, good PowerPoint skills, as well as data visualization tools. You also need to know SQL to make sure all the pipelines are correct. But if you have a technical guy, maybe that's where you work with them to figure out what data is required. Then there is a role called analysis and insight. In analysis and insights, all you're doing is taking all this data, converting into information so that you can provide the knowledge back to business. Because all this data that gets collected has to mean something. Otherwise, why are you even collecting it? When you look in your car, you have a dashboard that tells you how fast you're going, how much gas, petrol is remaining in the car, and what time is right now, and how fast your wheels are running, etc. But there is a purpose for that. The purpose is, if I need to reach somewhere within 1 hour, how fast do I need to go? When do I need to leave my house? How much time is left, etc. Those are the insights that you're calculating in your mind. And this is where businesses need a similar insights. You can look at number of people who are coming. People are clicking on Google ads. People are clicking on Facebook ads. They're coming to the website, and then they're leaving from a certain page. And then they click on or before they leave from a certain page, they're clicking on a button, etc. Well, what does that mean? How can business make decision based on that information? This is where analysis and insights come into play. So they work with business stakeholders. Role of digital analytics is across the organization. It's with marketing. It's actually started with within IT. So when websites came along, it was like, how much server load are we getting? That's how it started. Then marketing said, well, this is interesting data. How can we learn from this? And so it went to marketing. And then slowly CFOs were like, hey, I'm spending all this money. Where is this money going? And in e-commerce, CFOs are actually the ones who are, many e-commerce companies, CFOs are responsible for data and analysis. But it also is a user experience, customer support, product development, digital products are all being developed right now. So all these product development, they need this data and analysis. So they work with business stakeholders across the organization. Depending on the organization, you could be in one of these units or you could be working across. More and more companies are making the CMO role as the data role. So it's all across the organization. Or Chief Analytics Officer is another role that is now in many organizations. So they help understand and help define business objectives and goals of a company and various stakeholders. They define the KPIs, key performance indicators, on how to manage the success of business. Whenever you are running a business or any marketing effort or anything, you have to be able to measure it. And how you measure it, you have to define the right key performance indicators. And that's a very, very tough job. Many companies don't even get that right. And that's why if you define it wrong, you focus on the wrong thing. If you define it right and spend time thinking about why do we have a business, then you know that you're focusing on the right thing. Most of the people, when I talk to them and I ask them a question, why do you think, what was the KPI for Amazon when it started? Most of people might be saying profit, revenue, whatever the number is, but no, it wasn't revenue, it wasn't profit till most recently. It was all about getting third-party vendors on the site. So how do you define those KPIs? Number of vendors or the vendors per month or something like that, which is a tough task because everybody's doing their own stuff without thinking what the overall objective is. And this is one simple example. If Jeff Bezos came and said, hey, this is what we're doing, then everybody does that. But I've worked with, like I said, with Microsoft a lot, and every unit does it differently and not thinking where the corporation is going. Bigger companies, that becomes a problem. Even smaller companies, defining KPI is the hardest thing. The business objectives is the hardest thing. And these folks are helping them understand how to define them correctly, how to move forward the business. So they work with solution architect, implementation analysts to implement the right solution. We have this need. We need to be able to measure this about the customer because these are our KPIs. Now I need the data. Can you guys instrument the site or the data collection pipelines to get the data? And then they extract the meaning from data and connect it back to business. Storytelling is a huge part of this role. What is this data telling us? Data can tell any story that you want it to tell. Take any kind of data and it can tell you the data. It can support your biases. So, but this is why defining objective and KPIs is very critical, because once you know the KPI, you can't fudge the story. You have to have the right story there. So these guys are good at telling the story. And then there is finally optimization, personalization role. So this is when the data is collected, the story is told, insights are there, then you need to be able to take action on this. So for example, if I told you your homepage is very bad and people are leaving right when they land on the homepage, simplest example, and you should be able to move these buttons here or that link over here. And this is where these guys, optimization guys, come into play. Now, many organizations, you'll see the roles get intermixed, but in bigger organizations, you have separate departments who handle these things. So this is where I need a poll. So you have two screenshots in front of you. Tell me which of these drive more revenue for Bing. You know Bing, how it makes money? It makes money because these are all ads. When people click on ads, that's when, so that you have ads right here. When somebody clicks on, a link here, that's when Bing gets paid. The advertisers get charged. Which version? A is on your this side, whatever side you're seeing, I don't know the screen, but on my left-hand side is A, right-hand side is B. Which version do you think drives more revenue? That's the role of an analyst. So you have two options for this slide. So you pick the number one, A, B, or C. If you think the one, this one, the where I'm pointing, you guys can see my cursor, right? This is A, this is B. If you think both are equal, then pick C. So tell me. Oh, host and panelists cannot vote. Okay. Do we have the results? It's one chart. You look at the screen and then tell me which one, A, B, or C. All right, that's all you get. How many, what's the result?
Sir, B is saying 58% and poll is continue now.
Okay.
Okay.
That's okay. I just wanted to get an idea, like, you know, so how much percentage you can just tell me, and I'll tell you who's wrong, who's right.
So 60% says B.
How much?
60%, sir. Above
60% B, and what about A?
A, 23%, sir.
Okay. All right, so let's go take a look. It's very subtle difference, right? It's very hard to even tell the difference when you look at it. But this is where an optimization analyst comes into play. They're basically thinking, okay, what can we do here? We have a business that's running. Let's make another version of it, test it out. And the version, they don't just randomly come up with versions. There's a whole process that goes behind it to figure out, because there is a lot of money that goes behind it. If they get it wrong, they can actually let go of a lot of revenue, plus there is a cost to run those things. So you have to think about what are you going to do. There is follow the whole process, and that's what optimization analysts do. So let's take a look. I go to the next screen. These are the differences, and version B was actually the correct one. So 60% got it correct, which is 12 million more generated from version B. Now, people who voted B, just be honest. Let's go and do another one, A and B. Now, tell me which version, and you can hardly even tell the difference. Which version here drives more revenue? Same thing. And I can tell you what the difference here is. I hope it doesn't skip to my next slide. Let's see. Yes, that's the difference. The slight color difference in A and B. And I can tell you one version drives $12 million more, or 10 million, something like that. More. Which one? Revenue, same thing. A, B, or C? C means both are equal. That's also a possibility. Only people who answered B should answer this, but I should have said that earlier. That's okay. All right, do we have answers?
Hello. Sir, am I audible?
Yes.
Sir, B is again 59%.
Okay, you guys are good.
Okay.
So this is actually, B is again the winner here with 10 million more. So you can see that there is 60%, but there are 40% who are wrong, right? When you are a product manager running this thing, you would be wrong 40% of your time. Think about that. And that's why these optimization analyst role becomes critical, because you don't want to be wrong. Wrong means you could, if think about this, you could be letting go of that $10 million. And that's, if that's calculated in a month or a year, then think about if you keep running it for 3-4 years, what the impact will be. So this is where this role becomes critical. And this is something of interest, and companies do these testing all the time, right? Amazon does it. I'm sure a lot of Indian providers, e-commerce players are doing this all the time. Amazon's whole site is actually a big giant experiment. You go in incognito, you can see the difference in how that screen looks compared to when you're logged in and see that screen. Plus, if you open Amazon on 5, 10 different computers, you will see the difference in how it looks, like the button calls. Sometimes it's that subtle. Just a color change, pixel color change makes a huge difference. So that's what these guys do. Optimization, personalization analyst role is part art, part science, bit technical, bit stats. You have to use statistical calculations to figure out which versions are working, which ones are not. And you also have to have some design sense. So some artistic sense in there to say, yes, these color combinations, or this is what we are going to be testing. That's what they do. They are expert in testing methodologies. So yeah, they are testing, they know the process, because it's not like, hey, let's just put 2 versions out there. You have to have the full process to figure out where there are opportunities for you to make these changes. If you make random changes, you can have a bad customer experience. You definitely don't want that. So they know also to prioritize. You can have 50 different places where you can focus, but where do you want to focus? So they need to know that process. And then design and test personalization experiences, work with testing tools to test landing page, ads, etc. Many of the third-party tools nowadays provide those, when you run a Facebook ad or a Google ad, they already have inbuilt A/B testing. But again, what to test is still up to you to define. And that's where these skills come into play, which is, you have to be technical, know what you're trying to do, and you need to know like the design as well as stats to see how much traffic, how many people you need to make a statistically significant result. So that's what these optimization and personalization analysts do. Now, if you understand all these 3 roles, what's the career progression? Career progression is you start with analyst, reporting analyst, or technical analyst, one of these roles, no matter which one, because eventually as you grow, you'll kind of need to know all these things and learn as you are growing. And you become senior analyst, analytics manager. Most of the places you'll see director of analytics is where the cap happens in a lot of companies. And then you move more into one of their fields, whether it's the product side of things or whether it's the marketing side of things. But since depending on the organization you're working in, you could have paths which are clear up all the way up to chief analytics officer or chief marketing officer. So as you saw previously, chief marketing officer is now required to have all these data skills. So there is a path in most of the companies that I'm coming across these days have this path. Chief analytics officer role was created when we started this company and then sold to another company. And that was my role at that company. So 10 years ago, I had that title, but that was new title. I only knew like 5 more people who had that title at that time. But now more and more companies have SVP, Chief Analytics Officer, or Chief Marketing Officer title. So you can see that progression as it goes. So there is a huge opportunity in terms of the career there. Education and skills. There are various majors: business, marketing, stats, computer science, engineering, whatever you pick. You have to be analytical. That's the key. And MBA is required by many organizations for higher level roles. That has become like, when I was hired for a company, I was a senior manager, the first role after I completed my MBA. And at that time, it was just like they had a strict requirement: no MBA, no job. They're not going to hire any candidate for that. Now, I don't know where the market is because I haven't looked at the market, but when I talk to people, they're like, yes, MBA is required. So something to think about. Skills, reporting, you need Excel, PowerPoint, data visualization. I mentioned that earlier. Analyst is analytical storytelling. So reporting and analyst, they will merge together. Sometimes some companies you are doing both those roles. And then technical is you need JavaScript, HTML specific tools, and R and Python, and also SQL, which I didn't mention here, but I mentioned earlier. And if you want to go the data scientist route, that's when you need R and Python. Many people are more technically aligned, and they want to go deeper into it. Then you go learn R and Python are the 2 that I see most of the time. Jobs, types of companies. So when you're looking for jobs, I'm going to go through the types of companies that hire. Pretty much everybody hires, but how are they bucketed and will make a difference in what you learn and where you go. So there is a client, which is end user of digital analytics. Think about Amazon, Target, Gap, Microsoft. Even Microsoft used to play other roles as well. But those are where end user of digital analytics. They are consuming what these tools are providing. Then you have the tool vendors, such as Adobe and Google, Salesforce also, or Oracle. These are tool vendors. They sell digital analytics tools. And then you have consulting or digital agency. So you have, Publicis, WPP, HCL, TCS. Those guys are doing a lot of consulting work. They use multiple tools and provide services to various clients. So client side, the pros are they are integrated into the company and the business. So if you're working in Amazon, that's what you are thinking about day in, day out. You gain knowledge about specific company. Your growth is tied to group value within the organization. So if you're a group that you are in, that is not valued outside that group in the company, then your growth is kind of stunted by that. And cons are experience limited to one company and vertical, might be limited to one or two tools. And people who work at client sites that's not a con, but people who work at client sites are referred as practitioners. So pros, yes, growth. This growth can be a con too, as I mentioned. If the group is very valued, you grow. If not, then you are actually limited. Your experience is limited to one company and you cannot use multiple tools. Generally, it's one tool, whatever the company has decided. Vendor side, pros are you become expert in the tool offered by that company. So not only you are working in the tool vendor, you're day in, day out dealing with people, engineers who are creating these tools. You might be the one who's actually involved in creating those tools. So you become expert in that. And then you have opportunity to work with various clients because they're supporting various clients and you're not tied to one company only in terms of how your work gets done. So you could be working with an e-commerce client, you could be working in a B2B technology landscape, which is like, Microsoft, for example. You could be working with a portal, something like Yahoo or those kind of companies. So you're working with different clients. Also, you get various different types of experience because every company is different. And then cons are your experience is limited to that tool. That's it. You're not learning about other tools. And then there is agency and consulting companies. So HCL, TCS, WPP, Publicis, etc. A lot of different clients, variety of verticals. You have variety of roles, technical, client management, and analysis, all those things. You are doing all of them together. Maybe you are the one who's managing all these, or you are the one who's involved in all these. So you get wide variety of experience there. You get an opportunity to work with various tools, not just one tool. And then the cons are too many clients to manage and work with. Sometimes these guys end up working 16, 17 hours. I know some guys here who work in HCL, particularly Indian companies. I don't know, but they make their employees work a lot. So those guys are working day in, day out, weekends. Too many clients, but you're getting to a lot of experience as well. Engagement at times can be very shallow and limited to the agency offerings. So for HCL, I've seen that's very technical. They don't get into the strategy part of it. For WPP and creative agencies, they are more strategy and very less technical. But some offer, it depends on which agency, but some offer more technical side of things as well. So it depends on what their role is. If they are creative agency, that's what their focus becomes. So you might end up doing more optimization, personalization. And job is also dependent on client budgets. These days, client budgets are getting cut. A lot of people are getting laid off. So that's the first thing happens is they let the consulting and agencies go before they let their employees go. So there is a big dependence on that. So if you lose one big client, the whole company can be shut down. That happens a lot with marketing agencies. What's right for you is personal preference. Can't say which one is because you have to think about pros and cons there. Always look for the guidance and mentorship that you will get. So whenever you are in a situation where you need to pick a company, ask for these things. What kind of guidance and mentorship will I get to grow? Training opportunities that you will get so that you can learn about different things. If my personal preference is start with agency consulting, then move on to other clients, but it's personal preference. Opportunity to grow and do different things. That's what you should look for. And my advice is don't chase money in the beginning. Your goal is to learn and grow. That's what you should be looking at. So hopefully this gives you a good idea about the career, this field of digital and web analytics. And here's my contact information as well. Now I can take questions. All right, can you guys hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay.
Thank you, Anil, sir. We will go ahead and take some questions now. Just a reminder to the attendees, please be sure to type your question into the question box on your screen.
Okay, should I be reading these questions or you will read those? How will that work?
So as you like.
Okay, I mean, I can read it. If I miss something, you just let me know. There is one question
Okay,
I can answer right now.
Sure, sir.
How much Google certificates regarding digital marketing and analytics are helpful in real life? I'll answer this question this way. If I go and get a certificate in martial art, that does not make me a martial artist, right? Yes, I do have to pass certain things, but real experience can't replace that. If I have to hire somebody, somebody comes to me with a Google Analytics certificate, I don't value it much. But having that experience just tells me that this person has actually taken steps. So it's helpful, but not very helpful. You can't bank on that, is what I would say. Go ahead and do those, but what you need is to show how you can use it. Most of the people who say, I got Google Analytics certificate, they can't even give me one insight from Google Analytics. They can tell me where the reports are. They can tell me how many visits, visitors, page views, bounce rate, etc. are coming. But they cannot give me an insight that I can use to move the business forward. Think about the role. And so, the role is to provide these insights. If you can learn those things and along with certificate, that's very helpful. Any other questions? No? This is your chance.
Attendees, please answer your question. Type your question in a Q&A feature given on your screen. It is a golden opportunity to ask question.
All right. In India, most people prefer government jobs just because of a job safety. So being in the field of analytics, should I worry about job safety? That's a very good question. So I'll tell you, I was actually, I don't know, it's years ago, how many years now? I got a much coveted job in Indian Oil right after my graduation. Very secure job. Most of the people actually were going after secure jobs. For me, that job security was the one which actually caused me to leave. So one, I don't know how much. You guys are all engineers, MBAs. You should be taking risk, more risk than you should. Think about this. If you don't take risk, you do not know what's available. People told me I should not leave India, leaving Indian Oil job and go to America. It was tough for me when I came, but I think the right decision. So you should be worried about job safety. I don't think, given the situation in the market, as you can see, you should not be worried. But I heard, with this COVID, everything, a lot of analytics folks were let go, but they were mainly in hospitality industry because nobody's really, traveling these days. Every field has a problem. Who knows what happens 10 years from now? But I would say the more risk you take, the more you will actually become stronger and you can weather the storm. Network marketing is beneficial for students. Network marketing is, so I think you're talking about not specifically in terms of working for an organization. Most of the network marketers are like, hey, buy these, sell Amway or buy these marketers. I stay away from these things. I do not have personal experience. I would say that's not real marketing. It's all about, you're making your network. Network helps. in getting a job, but not particularly in network marketing is not something I would suggest you do. But it's a personal preference. If we want to make career in this field, where we should start? That's a great question. Where should we start? So I've laid out like where you have all these things. And given the time, I did not want to go into details on the next step because I could talk for hours on this subject. When you are learning, there are places where you can learn more and more about digital analytics, particularly like, I said, in Optizen, we do train people from scratch. As long as you have, good aptitude and analytical skills, you can learn those things. So if you are going to be starting your own, I would say go find build a blog or find a friend's website where you can put Google Analytics. Somebody mentioned Google Analytics certificate. Go through their courses to learn about what these tools can provide, and then see how you can help your friend or your blog grow with analytics. There are several blogs. You can follow my blog as well. I don't write now, but I have tons of information that I wrote years ago that's still valuable. Just follow that and you will learn. I tweet a lot about these things as well. But whoever is interested, I can talk offline on how you can get into the field. All right, any other questions? I answered all the questions, right?
Okay.
Oh, more questions. Sorry, more questions here.
Okay.
How tough it was to start a company in USA and finding Microsoft. You went through the network. Somebody mentioned network. It's all about network. It is tough everywhere, no matter where you are. The more network you have, the people you know, that's how it works. You show your skills and you build these people that you help, and eventually the business comes. It's always tough, but that's where your success comes to. So how to apply for internships? Depends on the companies. Every company opens up their internship. They list on their websites. Also, networking is huge. I can tell you from get-go, networking is huge. Build network. Know people in the industry and build network. Follow them on Twitter. Respond to them when they are writing something. If you can connect to them on LinkedIn. I get a lot of students who connect with me on LinkedIn, but then they are quiet. There's nothing. Either they'll ask straight away, can I get a job? Can I get an internship? That's not how it works. If for you have to show that genuinely you are interested and you have the aptitude. I'll tell you one story. One student, she was an Indian girl studying in US here. She came to me recently and said, sir, I had a job and I was doing some marketing work and now I lost my job and I need to learn digital analytics to get into this field. So I said, okay. And she didn't have money. So I said, that's fine. You don't have money. I don't have to worry about that. But just send me your resume on what you were doing so I can understand who you are. 3 weeks now, and she hasn't even sent me a resume. Now, how much trust will I have on that person? So you have to show the initiative. If you are looking for an internship in a company, build the network, respond. And if somebody is asking you something, go. That's your top priority. If you show initiatives, then people will hire you. I have hired people who had no background in marketing, who had no background in analytics. But just because they showed that aptitude and they showed me like they have the analytical skills and they are responsive, I said, okay, I can hire you. Training is nothing. I can train anybody within few weeks. But it's that drive that you need to happen. So that's how you build your network, focus on that, and then you will get opportunities there. I want to take initiation in analytics, being a fresher. From where should I start? Yes, I answered this question, where you should start. Maybe I can definitely talk offline as well to give you specific points. But what I would say is you can go to my blog, which is on anilbatra.com. You can start from there. And then you can see what I have written about what blogs you should follow, what Twitter accounts you should follow. Those are old, but still relevant. That'll give you an idea of what kind of fields are happening. Go become a Digital Analytics Association's member. It's a student membership is there, and I think they have a chapter in India as well. Yes, they have India chapter. So start there, go to their forums. You will make a lot of connections, and you can start to learn. Maybe start your own blog and put Google Analytics, learn from there if you don't want to take other classes. But Digital Analytics Association offers classes. I teach many of those classes as well. How to prepare for this? I just answered that one. We have, I didn't want to purposely talk because I was not trying to sell what we have here, but you can also go to artisan.com and follow the link to become a digital analyst program. There is a full program that I offer to students, which they go through each step by step and get practical experience that they can put on their resume as well. Okay, from where can we learn? Just answer that. Experience, hard work, talent, what matters the most for an average guy to get a job? So what I would say is hard work, aptitude, you want to get this. That is what matters. It's not about what you have. I told you, like I hired people who had no experience or any knowledge of the field even, but they wanted to be this. You have to show you are dedicated, you have that drive, and you'll do whatever it takes, whether it's staying up all night. I'll tell you my story. So somebody asked how hard it was. I came from India here, and I was an electronics engineer back in India. That's how I was working in Indian Oil. When I came here, I wanted to build electronic instruments, and so got my master's in environmental engineering, so I can do environmental instruments for electronic instruments. By the time I graduated, there was this environmental field, which was very hot at that time, died because Al Gore was vice president before, and he was behind it. But after a few years, he was gone and everything was gone. So there was nothing. There was no jobs. Only job I could find was everybody was hiring for software engineers at that time, right? You need to know programming. You need to be able to build softwares. I needed to survive. I needed to have that. So what I did is I self-taught programming. I sat down in the night. It was very difficult to buy even a computer. Think about somebody coming from India having no money, and you don't even have a computer. So we 3 guys pulled in, and my time used to come after midnight. So from midnight to like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, I used to practice all day. I mean, every night. This was a routine. And that's how I got my first job. And then I went into software engineering. I did a lot of cool development, and I became very good at that. But it's the drive that was there. It was just a do or die situation. So you have to go. If this is what you want, go for it. There's no experience matters. You will get that. People will give you that. Hard work, talent. Yes, talent matters to a point, but I think it's the drive and hard work, and you can overcome if there is little bit lagging in those. So you will be able to do that. I'm going to start my career as a data scientist. So how should I start? If you want to start as a data scientist, I would say this field will make it easier for you to get into. Go find a job either at a client side like Microsoft or Amazon, and then work your way. This might be an easier way to get into. I don't know what your background is, but if you are, you have R, Python, SQL skills, then it should be easy for you to get the job. But try to get some experience, work for free for nonprofit, some other company. Just get some experience that you can put on your resume. Does it require any programming language experience? Means one who has not read? Yes, it does not require any programming experience. So when you go in the strategy, it's more about strategy. This is one field. This is what I was saying earlier is if you want to get into data scientists, you can learn those things. But if you don't have any programming background, it's very hard for you to comprehend. But you have the other skills, marketing skills, strategy skills. You can think, you are analytical. If you're analytical, get into this field. This will be your path to get to analytics type of career. Means one who has not read can also be able to learn. You can learn anything. If you don't have any experience, you can learn it. I learned myself coding, and I was a very good coder. I actually was one of the top coders back then. Just learned all on my own. But go back, and it's the drive. This field came I didn't want to be a programmer sitting in front of computer all day long. That was my thing. I also got into car accident, which made it difficult for me to code all day long. So I decided to go into marketing. And that's when I decided, like, business side of things, how do I get into that? Did my MBA as well as learned about this field, which was coming up. And that's how I picked up this one. So you can learn anything you want. I can guarantee you can learn anything you want. It's not what path you take, what courses you take right now will actually define you. They will teach you stuff that will make you more like, go outside your comfort zone, and then you can pick anything that you want. Can you tell key points to become a good web analyst? So to become a good web analyst, you need to be analytical. Can you think outside the box? Can you find out? The basic question is ask why. You know how kids ask more why? Why is this, daddy? Why is this? Why is that? They are good analysts. They are thinking. As we become adult, we stop asking why. Why? Because it makes us look bad, right? What will people think? What will they say? I don't even know this. But this is a good web analyst is. They are asking why. Why are we seeing so many people on our site? Why are we not seeing more than 2% conversion? You know how many, when any site, what's the conversion rate? Conversion is how many people come in, how many people buy. Generally, it's 2%. So 100 people come in and only 2 buy. Why is it not 3? What can we do to make it 3? What's lacking? Those are the things a web analyst asks. They look at the data and say, this is what's happening. Most of the people who come, they leave from our homepage. 50% of the people immediately go back. Why? That's another why. You go back and say they're coming from Google. On Google, they are typing these keywords. Well, these keywords, they come to our site, but we don't have any words that actually satisfy their query on Google. So what can we do? That's how you become a web analyst, by questioning, by looking at the data, by digging deeper into the data. I was actually conducting a class this morning and telling students, there was one student asked me, like, what's the process for data analysis? So a lot of data analysis is fishing. You have a problem that you want to solve. Sometimes you don't even have a problem that you want to solve. So when you have a problem you want to solve, you know the lens. I am trying to do this. And you dig deeper into the data, start digging into the data, slicing and dicing the data, putting different data sources together, and then you find the answer. So example I gave, Coke is a big seller at Walmart. Walmart, people buy a lot of Coke because Walmart's buyer, everybody's familiar with Walmart. I think you have in India as well, right? So Walmart buyers here are people who have less income and they generally have cash income. So they go in, they work. I think they're called dihadi or whatever in India it's called. The people who make daily wages, right? They come in, they get money. So on Friday, they'll get their paycheck. They go to, or paycheck or cash, they go to Walmart and buy stuff. If Coke is on sale, even if it's 25 cents less than regular value, they'll buy a lot of it because they drink a lot of it. And if it's 25 cents less, that means they can buy on sale right now. There is one day of the whole year where it doesn't matter what the price of Coke is, it'll sell a lot. How do you find that? You don't have anything to go with because we just accidentally found it. We found by looking at the data, the timeline, the events that were happening, the days of the week. We just started, my analyst team was just going and looking at the different data sources, and they found out it's July 4th, which is the Independence Day here. On that day, no matter what the price of Coke is, you'll always sell more. So what happens is that day, you don't have to go sell Coke on sale. There are other things that we found similar ways. So good analyst is always digging and trying to find out, I need to find something that'll move the business, that'll make them more money. That's what the key is. So analytical, asking a lot of questions, and then data analysis skill. What if a person doesn't pursue MBA? Is there as much scope for engineering graduates? Yes. Even if you don't pursue MBA, you do have a scope. You can, if you're technically, you can go in the technical side of things. There is a huge, like Adobe is growing great, big, right? And there are a lot of people who make good money just doing Adobe implementation. That's your way into it. even if you don't want to go into the strategy type side of thing or marketing side of things. But once you get into that, find a company that'll let you do more. That's how you can learn on the job. So find an angle that you will be good at to get your foot in the door, and then find your way. That's where I said, don't go after money. Find where you can learn and grow. So for that kind of situation, I would say is go find a company. Every company these days lets you do that kind of stuff, but go find either a client side or an agency. Don't go for a consulting company like HCL, TCS. They're not going to let you go into different direction. Very difficult. I've seen those guys here. But if you go and find a job at Microsoft, much easier. You'll do certain stuff and then you can move your way. Harder, but still. Easiest is an agency, like a marketing agency. Get into as a technical person and then find your way, and they'll let you do it. Because all they care about is, can you do the work? If you can bill, sure, they'll let you do it. How much resistance does this field offer to a fresher? Great question. At this point, I would say there is a resistance, but once this economy recovers, there is a resistance to pretty much everything. Once this economy recovers, there won't be much resistance. For a fresher, the best place is an agency or even a consulting company. That's where the best place is. I hired a lot of freshers and people who had no background in this. Reason is because they come cheaper. I can train them, put them, and make money. So that's where you can find what you want to do, and you can get a job experience, then use that to go into other companies. How much programming language should we have to learn? I mentioned above, you don't have to learn anything if you don't want it. I have had analysts who don't know any programming language. No JavaScript, no HTML, no SQL. Forget about C++ or other languages. They don't even know that. Basic HTML helps. Basic JavaScript will help. SQL will help. If you have those, you will be ahead of others. But you don't have to have programming language as long as you can learn how to analyze the data. But it might be difficult in that situation to say, I can find a job tomorrow, get some certificates. Somebody mentioned Google certificate, get those certificates, get some experience working for free, nonprofits. I think NGOs is what you guys call there, right? Work for them and get some experience. That's how you will be able to find the right position. I had students who came in, and all we did was basically I walked them through a project that they can work on. They put that on resume, and somebody hires them immediately. So till this COVID hit, there was no resistance, no problem in finding jobs. But now there is a little bit of issue here. Hopefully that'll all go away in a few months. Do we need a degree like bachelor's or diploma to dive in analytics field? Do you need is no, you don't. Will it help? Definitely it'll help. So if you get a bachelor's or diploma or bachelor's degree in either engineering or marketing, anything, you pick a field, that helps. Though many companies are letting go of the degree requirements, but I still see it. If you are stacked against somebody who has a degree and somebody who doesn't, who are you going to pick? You make a decision, right? You are going to pick the one with degree. That at least tells the person has the drive to go through this. And that's what they're looking for. Can you handle this situation? Can you do this work? And if you don't have a drive to go get a degree, then either you have experience to back that up and say, I was trying to get this experience. If you don't have that, then definitely you're going to lose to somebody with degree. Okay. During sessions, sir, I heard R. What is R? R is a programming language that is used for statistical analysis. So to become a data scientist, R is sort of a requirement these days. R and Python are two languages that every data scientist use. But even with SQL, which is very easier to learn. I don't know your background here, but just learn some kind of language if you want to become a data scientist. If not, if you're only trying to become a digital analyst, you don't need any programming languages. I'm really interested in data science. I want to be the one, digital marketing. I'm familiar with very well, and even I'm good at C, Python. Is this enough to become a data scientist? If you're C, Python, JavaScript, not so much JavaScript, PHP, learn R, C, yes, you should be, and SQL. Add SQL to it and add R to it, you should be good. Okay. Sir, in web analytics, what's the basic thing to remember to learn from it? I mentioned this before. Basic things is understanding. So web analytics is all about understanding customer behavior, and you can start from even marketing analytics, which is how can I make marketing better? Companies are spending billions of dollars on marketing. And if your marketing is going waste, I spend, let's say, $1,000 on Facebook to drive something. I don't know why people do certain things, but they do, right? They will make my Facebook page like, or whatever it is, which does not add any value. But if you can figure out, like, what can I do with the data that's collected? Then if you can help companies make more money, that is what the web analyst is trying to do. Help companies understand where they're spending, how that money is getting used, how their customers are behaving, and what can they do, learn from the data, and do on their marketing or products or business to drive more revenue or more profit. That's what web analysts do. So that's what you have to think about. Analytical thinking. Can I put these pieces together? Can I dive in and ask a lot of questions to dig deeper? Sir, R is which type of programming language? R is like it's a statistical modeling language you use for fitting a lot of data, finding patterns in those. So that type of language, it's used by data scientists a lot to find patterns. You've seen machine learning, AI, all those things are using behind the scene. There are models that are written in R as well. So that's the language it is. According to your opinion, what's better, 9 to 5 regular job or data scientist? Well, 9 to 5 is also a data scientist job. The question should be, right, 9 to 5 regular job, or you're consulting, or you're starting your own company. It's a personal preference. Many people prefer 9 to 5. Well, there is no 9 to 5. It's actually more like 9 to 6 or 8 to 6 and then weekends. Data scientists also do that job. So it's my opinion. I never liked 9 to 5. I get bored. So I never, enjoyed that. I can't sit in front of computer all day long. So it's my personal opinion, but everybody's different. I know people who love their 9 to 6, 9 to 5 jobs. So that's it. Do we have any more questions? Does that answer everybody's question? If somebody's question is not, or I didn't answer or wasn't clear, please type it again. And I'm more than happy to answer these questions after the fact too. Also, people who are interested in going through the program, we can figure that out as well. So I have a program. If you go to, actually, the link is not here. Maybe it was here. Let me just see if there is a link here. Yeah, it's right here. academy.optizen.com. You'll see there is a full program that's offered to become a web analyst or digital analyst.
Sir, one more question.
Yeah. Oh, there is one. Okay. For visualizing the data onto web, so can I use Bootstrap or anything else? I'm working with Twitter sentiment analysis. Yes, you can use anything you want. If you can do that in Bootstrap, sure. But I would say for Twitter sentiment analysis, use something that is already web ready. Why do you want to create your own graphs and charts? You can use Power BI. I think there is a version. You have a Tableau public version that you can use, or you can even, are all available for free. Tableau public is free. Google Data Studio is free. But if you want to code from scratch and show it, sure, that'll actually tell your programming skills as well, that you can use on your resume. This is what I built. So yeah, that will be a good experience to have. What is the best course for data science? That I can't answer. I do not know what's best course for data science. I have team members who've been data scientists. but they have gone to, schools like MIT and stuff, but I do not know if anybody has taken a course that will make them a data scientist. There are so many different courses. I think many schools offer, bigger schools also offer that, or uh, I can't answer that. Not sure where the best one is. I can find out. If you're interested, you can reach me offline and I can find out. Okay, what are the basic skills we require to play a role of reporting? Basic skills you need are data visualization, some SQL, so that you can pull the data, Excel, and PowerPoint. Those are the skills that are required. So data visualization tools are Tableau, Tableau, Google Data Studio, and Power BI are the most used ones, but it could be any other. I think Google also recently bought another one called the Looker that they will be rolling out soon. So there are a bunch of data visualization tools, but as long as you can figure those tools out, Tableau is the one that's most used and has a lot of market. So if you want to do that, become good at Tableau. And actually, you become a good at Tableau, you approach me tomorrow. I have a client that needs some work. But I am knowing MLOps. So what is MLOps? ML operations, machine learning. What level of job we need? Any college degree impact it, or knowledge is sufficient to join job? This one, machine learning, you will definitely, just a college degree is not just going to give you a job immediately. So I would suggest is apply for internship. Key is to get experience, show people you can do it, not just have a book knowledge. So once you get this knowledge, apply it. So internships are a great way to get that. Once you do it, whether it could be a startup, it could be you starting something on your own, it could be some friend's startup. Just get some experience so that you can put it on your resume. And then once you show your skills, it becomes easier for employers. I just have a question, sir, please suggest. I do not know what that means. For which one? That's from Shivam. You wanna, oh, you were asking about the visualization tool, right? So, yep. Okay, I think I answered all the questions. Anything else? You can always reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions and give you specific guidelines if required.
Sir, it's look like we have covered all our questions. Anil sir, is there anything else you want to cover before a wrap up?
No, I think this is it. I mean, I can go on for days. But I think for this one is pretty sufficient. There is a lot more, where you learn. A lot of people are asking great questions on where to learn and how do you become that. So people can reach out to me. I can definitely answer those questions. And I can take personally with them.
Great, sir. Thank you, everyone.
But yeah, this is where they can, if they are interested, they can go figure out there are courses you can sign up. I'm doing similar info session to give them more information.